Last Friday, you proposed a bill that would allow school districts to brand items to sell services, rent out facilities, things like that. Can you give me more details on that?
Yeah, there's basically, we started it out as a pilot program for schools in Montgomery County.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I am getting feedback from other representatives that other school districts are being asked to be included in this pilot program. But it allows them to do four things. One, sell their brand. Okay. Number two, it allows them to lease space for the market value. And where I see this being a value is as maybe like a driver's ed class says, I want to bring my services to the students in their school setting. It's much more convenient for them and all, and this would allow the school to do it and make a little money at it. Third, we allowed them to sell educational services. So, like as you probably know, Vandalia Butler is the one who came up with the idea, and we've refined it and put it into the bill. But they have a nice home ec room, maybe a creative cooking class. Maybe they want to teach some self-defense classes or just other ways to make money. And the fourth one, they're allowed to sell their technology. Very possible as we get into the digital age of education, online classes and different technology are being used to educate kids today. Kids today are so much more technologically savvy than we were, and to not utilize that would be a mistake. So as we progress in it, maybe they develop these programs that they can sell to other schools or districts. They can sell them to any nonprofit organization according to the bill.
What would this look like in the schools in terms of the sales things? I've read on some blogs and people talking about, is this going to be a burden put on the teachers, or how would this be? Would this look like a storefront in a school? How would that be integrated?
Well, right now they do sell their brand through clubs. Different clubs will do this as a profit-making organization. This is I believe selling the brand is kind of a small piece of the puzzle, but they could sell their they could. Within the office. I'm not sure exactly. The schools can do this any way they want.
Saying that it's not so much the branded items, because I was going to ask who's the market for these branded items. I know that school booster clubs and whatever the extracurricular clubs usually go out and have kids selling stuff, but beyond that, people aren't really looking to buy like a Northmont t-shirt, or...
Correct. As I say, I think that's a small piece of the
bill. I think people are in general okay with having schools offering these services to generate money. I think most people are okay with that. I think some of the problem that I've heard, some criticism, is that Ohio public schools are in crisis, and since the Ohio State Supreme Court said that Ohio school funding was unconstitutional, it's been almost 15 years now, and we don't have another plan to replace that. So this is kind of seen, some people say it's kind of a band-aid, and we have a bigger problem that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. This does not address the school funding problem in Ohio. To address the DeRolf decision, the DeRolf decision, and there's different thoughts on this as whether it's constitutional now or not. People I've talked to, and that's the thought I had before I went into the legislature. But as I talk to people who've been passionately more in depth involved in this, tell me that, well, that isn't necessarily true, that it's still unconstitutional. The constitutionality of it was the heavy reliance on property taxes to fund public schools. Some districts have the ability, they have more of a tax base, they have the ability to raise more money than other districts. This way they have funded schools through the state in the recent years is those districts receive much more money than some of the other districts. There are districts that receive virtually no money per student, when some receive $8,000–$10,000 per student. So that address the problems with the DeRolf. But am I saying that we have no problem with public school funding? No, I still think it's on the agenda. It's a big problem and a big issue. But as I say, this doesn't solve it. This is just a tool to put in their toolbox.
is this something that you want to work toward, finding a system for school funding?
Absolutely. I don't like, okay, the balance that I see is we want the community to have a say in how the dollars are spent and what services they want to provide. The only way to do that is through the vote, okay, and the levies. But there's still a heavy reliance in many districts on the levies. We need to determine what the basic funding cost is per student. We need to be able to provide that through the state, and how we generate the revenue for that is probably the biggest question. But we still need to give schools, the communities, final say on what services and benefits are provided in their district. If I want my school district to be the best and have all these extra services, I should be allowed to do that. But I'm also going to have to pay for that.
Right. I think people understand that, and we see in the past few years when levies come up, they usually fail. People don't want to pay more taxes. I think people think they pay enough taxes, but the taxes aren't spent by the government in the correct way. Lots of people think that there could be cuts to other government spending and more towards education spending. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're talking about the state budget. You got to realize Medicaid is our largest part of the budget. Okay, that is mandated by federal law. We can't cut that. Our second, we can find ways to do it more efficiently, and that's what we did. Okay, that was projected to be a large increase in our budget, and we were able to redesign how those services were provided and found a lot of efficiencies. It did not equate to as big a percentage of the budget as projected. K through 12 education is number 2. Okay, there was no way to balance this budget without cutting across the board. Okay, including the second largest piece of our budget. Now, we need to we do need to do some redesigning on how the schools operate. I'm not advocating one way or another, but we need to look at mergers and shared services. Okay, we have. I can't remember the number of school districts, but we have many school districts in this state. Okay, some are very small, some are very big. Just in my district, I've got one school district that has approximately 6,000 students. 3 other of my districts don't have 6,000 among them. Okay, yet they all have a superintendent. Most of them have a treasurer, and they all have these additional services.
Such a duplication of services.
Yeah, there's no reason why we can't find some economies there. In transportation, okay, every school district has their set of buses. If we were to just vary the start times a little bit, we could use the same fleet from multiple districts. There are savings to be had. Once again, I'm not advocating that the schools need to get together, and we actually put into the budget a fund that will entice local governments and school districts to find shared services. We'll help them do it. I just left a meeting with the auditor, and the auditor will come in and do an audit and a performance audit for different local governments and schools, and will help them find economies that they can exploit and save money.
On a bigger scale, what do you think the role of the federal government is in public education in the states?
I personally believe that the federal government should not be involved. Every time they give money, it comes with some mandates. No Child Left Behind, I think it had pieces that were good, but for the most part, I hear that No Child Left Behind put just a lot more burden without the proper funding to match it. I would like to see the federal government just stay out and let the states provide their own. Maybe they should set the course curriculum standards, but beyond that, I'd really like them to stay out and let the states design an educational system best to meet the needs of their population. Our population is different than other populations. Arizona has a different population than Ohio. Yet, when the federal government mandates, we all have to do it. We all have these same rules that we have to follow. Just if If they're going to provide funding, do it without mandates.
Anything that you'd like to add?
No, you know, we're doing a lot of. I was put on 4 committees, and by far education has become my favorite committee because I think there's so much that can be done. I'm now working with some of my districts on some blended education models. Maybe a school within the school that will allow this a blended you know, internet/classroom based model. I don't want to eliminate the teacher out of the thing. I think they provide very valuable services. We've got great teachers, but we need to leverage the technology out there to really give our kids a leg up in this in the education world.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.